because it's calorie free.
I know. It's funny. My dad keeps telling me that like Diet Coke's going to give me cancer, and I'm like, I mean, possibly. I guess
that's a generational thing because
it might be
because everyone above like the age of like 30 is like, hey, you can't drink too much of this because it's going to give you cancer. But then the science has proven that it doesn't.
It's so mixed. Yeah. Has it really like proven that it doesn't?
It's completely.
Oh, really?
So the amount that causes cancer is if you give like 10,000 times the number of whatever the component was, the aspartame, whatever is in here.
Yeah.
And they gave that to mice, and that they gave the mice cancer. So two things.
Oh.
It's not done on humans, and the other thing is you need 10,000 times the dose in order for it to be cancerous. So like, who's going to drink that much Diet Coke? It's just not going to happen. No. Anyways, welcome back.
All right, welcome back, guys.
We're back.
Episode 13.
So 13 of the Entertainment Business Review.
That's right.
We have just the two smartest dumbasses talking about entertainment.
That's right. I'm Jordan. This is Brian.
What's up? So we've been gone for a while. A lot has happened.
It's been a few weeks. It's been a few weeks.
I think the thing that's been like popping up like a lot in the entertainment space is just what's going to happen with Discovery, Warner Bros, Discovery.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of stuff happening there. I mean, I guess two major stories is the impending merger coming, right? So how that's going to go, and it seems like the Department of Justice is going to approve it. There's been no indication that it wouldn't,
right?
Which I think it's probably the right play.
Mm-hmm. They said it was going to close in April of this year.
Yes, yeah. I think they're going to have like full control of it in April, and they'll start.
That's a lot quicker than I thought.
It is a lot quicker
given the
than
scale
I thought.
of that acquisition.
Honestly, yeah, it's definitely given the scale, and it's like very obviously a media play. So I could see how the Department of Justice would give it a little bit more scrutiny, but it doesn't seem that they are. Which is, I mean, I respect that. Like, I think they should be able to compete. And then there's obviously like the CNN stuff that's going on. So they got a lot of stuff going on in that company. And
some good, some bad.
Out. Yeah. It's interesting to kind of see what they do there. But I guess the main strategy we can think about is like what they're going to do from a streaming perspective. So like what is their like strategy?
Which is the all important thing right now.
It's like the only
it's like the only thing that
Wall Street seems to care about.
Exactly. I think he was like David Zaslav was very careful with his words.
Yeah.
Right. We're going to compete smartly or intelligently with the best streamers in the business without playing the spending game.
Right.
Because that's what spooked investors, right?
Right.
Netflix spends so much, subscribers dips a little bit, and their stock fucking tanks.
Yeah.
And then
it's honestly interesting. Like, was Wall Street scared about that though? Like, I feel like they were always like, "Oh, Netflix, spend more money on content, please. We don't care if your cash flows are super negative."
No, they're all up on that virtuous cycle of content to subscribers, and then the moment that their subscribers wasn't accelerating as much as they thought, they're like, "Ooh, maybe that wasn't a good idea.
Maybe spending more content doesn't necessarily mean more.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't spend like drunk fucking sailors." Like,
yeah, right.
Then they got spoofed, so they're like, "Okay, if that's not working for them anymore, then it can't work for anybody else." So, what was it? Paramount, some other companies were like, "Oh, we're gonna spend a lot too," and then their stock tanked because it was the same. They got spoofed, right? So, collateral damage.
Yep. So I guess the big thing is, which I think it's right. So it's smart in that fact that they're going to be strategic about how they spend, which is very HBO. I feel like, so, which I like.
Which in general, you should be smart about how you spend, anyways.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, and to be the thing is like I feel like that's what the entertainment business was, because if you made a TV show like or a movie, your objective was to get as many people as possible to watch it. And Netflix. I mean, they'll say that, that was part of their strategy, but if it didn't get a lot of views, they're like, well, it wasn't for, like, it was very niche.
Yeah.
It wasn't for everybody. It's like, shut the fuck up. Are you kidding me? Like, you want people to watch it, and it was so annoying.
We call that a race to the bottom, which is
race to the bottom,
which is not what we want.
Yeah. So now that Netflix is like, I think they're kind of starting to realize that they're not going to be able to own TV, because I think that was like almost their value proposition was like, we're just going to be the only streaming platform people need. And it's like, that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
You could spend hundreds of billions of dollars on content, but if HBO comes out with a good show, everyone's going to watch it. Like,
if anyone has
matter.
more than $30, they're going to spend on multiple ones.
Exactly. So spending a lot, so I think Netflix is starting to realize that. That's why they're getting into video games, and I think they're probably going to cut down their spending and maybe a little bit and try some other things. They raised their price. Warner is actually, I think, taking advantage of that, which is nice. And they're saying, okay, we don't necessarily want to spend as much as Netflix, because we can see growth without having to spend that much.
Which they could definitely pull off.
Right. And David Zaslav is also in the TV business, so he kind of understands that, like, he knows content is king, and Netflix will say, I mean, actually, I don't know if Netflix would say content is king, because they're like, it's all about the portfolio.
They will
is king,
say data is king.
Right, which is bullshit. It's always going to be content is king. And I think the people at HBO are very talented in terms of understanding what's a good story, what's a good production, and how to support that to a point where you can create something that's really worthwhile and that gets people talking, gets it in like the cultural zeitgeist, which is the whole point. Like, and I noticed in the last Netflix earnings call, Ted was talking about like the cultural zeitgeist, and I'm like, yes, like you as a movie and television business, you want people to be talking about it. Like, you want people to be talking about your show at dinner. Like, that's what you want to achieve. And so I think they're starting. And before, Netflix was like, well, it doesn't really matter because everybody watches different stuff. And now they're like, well, we should probably have some things that everybody is everybody is watching. So now they're starting to get that.
I mean, they had those a couple of times, right? It's just like for
Stranger
them,
Things.
Yeah, they just don't hit it as frequently as HBO does, right?
No, and they don't monetize it as well, like in terms of merchandise. And now they're starting that, right? So like before, like they would come out with a House of Cards.
Yeah, it was a single value proposition, right? Just
right, you couldn't buy T-shirts, you couldn't buy any merch. Like there was no other way to capitalize on the IP. And so I think now they've started that for the last couple of years. They're like trying to make more Stranger Things merchandise, and I think there's a Stranger Things video game now on Netflix. Yeah, that's totally free, which is interesting.
I mean, the other thing that I think is interesting is they're going to be combining the streaming services.
Well, right? is that official? I thought it was like they're still debating whether to bundle it. Yeah. Or to make it like one. I don't know if that decision's been like finalized yet.
Well, okay, so HBO has struggled as far as streaming goes with their branding, because it was like HBO Now, HBO Go, HBO Max. Like, they need to have a unified brand. So I wonder if it's because they want to avoid like something like that happening again. Because then you're gonna have like Discovery Plus, you're gonna have HBO Max. I think if they had one offering, it might simplify things a little bit. And HBO Max now has enough brand value that it might be the more recognizable offering.
I think to your point, to lay out, so you can either do the Disney approach where you don't merge the platforms like ESPN, Disney Plus, and Hulu and offer a bundle, or you do a new approach where you take all of your stuff and you make one not really expensive, but a more expensive streaming platform that's everything that satisfies a lot more. So it gives consumers a little bit less flexibility, but it's better for the company, but it's also probably better for the consumer too. Yeah. In the long run. A
supra service.
Yeah. Yeah. So like most people, like if especially in the United States, I mean, internationally it might be different, but if you're an American and you have HBO Max and they're like, well, you can bundle it with like Discovery Plus. Most people are gonna be like, I don't know what Discovery has, like Animal Planet, like I don't.
HGTV, baby.
Yeah, HGTV. Yeah. So like
Property Brothers.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
So like most people are not gonna be like, ooh, just like they're not gonna do it. But what you could do and what you could justify is if HBO Max is $15 now, you just add Discovery's library to it and add $5 to the price. Yeah. Well, I don't think it would make a huge impact on the consumer.
Yeah, they said there's going to be 3 tiers, 1 ad-supported tier. So they could definitely. I mean, the upselling strategy works better, I think, than a bundling strategy.
I agree. And to your point, right? Like, I think consumers want actually less choice. I think consumers liked it when they just paid one price for all the television consumption they needed. Yeah. And now it's split, so you add more stuff in their face. I think consumers are going to be happier in the long run
Yeah.
With this HBO being like, we're going to have a lot of stuff for you. It's going to be $20, but it's better than the $130 you're spending on cable.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that makes sense also because, like, as we're getting to that point where people don't want to spend on more services, like, you do want, you know, one or two really good ones that you actually are loyal to.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I saw this other stat where, like, the amount that people believe that a premium subscription service is worth has stayed the same from, like, 2018 to 2022.
Really?
Yeah, it's been like $12 or something like that. So there is some willingness to pay barrier, you know.
That's where I really am curious, like, what is the willingness to pay for a lot of people? Because I don't know, because I've never, like, a lot of my streaming platforms are with my parents. Like,
yeah.
So I don't pay for them, but
well, here's
I'm
the thing,
curious
right?
what people's willingness to actually pay for these things
well,
are.
let me ask you. So I am willing to pay for HBO Max on my own,
Yeah.
right? So I'm willing to shell out $15 a month to get HBO Max, but I'm not willing to shell out $15 for Netflix on my own. The only reason why I still have that is because I have it with 4 other dudes.
Ah, so it's cheap. Yeah, you just split it.
Because really, my willingness to pay is like, you know, like $3.
Right.
So
why HBO Max versus Netflix? Just you just find better shows on
yeah,
HBO Max?
every single show I watch, I fucking love.
Okay.
On
Yeah,
HBO
yeah,
Max.
But
And
Netflix is kind of hit or miss, basically.
yeah, I mean, what they push to me to, I guess this is also generational, like the things that I've been recommended, and they curate that manually, by the way. So like
Netflix does?
Yeah, no, HBO Max.
HBO
does.
Max.
They
yeah.
have.
Oh, they don't
a
have an
team.
algorithm do it. They actually have
people curating it.
I like
yeah.
that. I
So
like that a lot.
they kind of know the kind of shit that I like. And so their actual curation for like, oh, here's a hub of like dramas from the 90s or something like that.
Wait,
it
how do they-
kind of appeals to me.
Interesting. How do they have people, like, obviously they're not looking at you individually as like
No, they're not.
Like, how are they doing that with people?
They're having like, they have like apparently like a 30 group editorial group that they basically go like, okay, for the next month we should push this group of content because we think people would
For maybe
resonate
this
with this
subset of like type of viewers.
Yeah,
kind
so
of thing?
if you scroll through, there's a lot of different like pods or zones.
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
all like manually curated.
Interesting.
And for some reason, those tend to do better with me. Whereas like on Netflix, they're pushing me to like random shows that I think maybe appeal to Gen Z or some other things that I just don't care about. So
yeah.
I don't know. The algorithm is just not doing it for me.
I agree. I think with content like this, I think a human curation is better than the algorithm like on the YouTube. Like YouTube, I get it, and YouTube is a different like view. Like I go to YouTube to see people that I've already watched talk about different things. So they're pumping out content constantly.
Yeah.
Versus with a show, like sometimes I'm not in the mood for the same type of show I watched yesterday, and so that's when like human curation is actually smart. So I think HBO Max is going to do really well, and I think it's going to be bad for Netflix if they don't get people in there that can pump out good content. But I agree with you. Like if I had to pick the services, like if I had to pick
or rank order them.
If I had to rank order them in terms of like what I'd be like paying, like just clean slate, like what I'd want, I think first would be HBO Max. The second might be Apple, because I think HBO Max might be the only one that I would be like, I want as like a utility that I just have always.
Right.
And the others
that you're
might
comfortable
just be
paying month to month.
that I'm comfortable paying,
Yeah.
like even if I'm not using it, which I don't think I would. I think I would constantly use it, but I would be willing to just pay for that and just have that like on my like Spotify I've had for like a decade where I don't even see the money coming out of my account anymore because I'm just like, this is just a part of my life that I need.
Like if
and
you
I don't
didn't have
care.
it, your life would be worse.
Yeah. So like the $10 that come on my account, like it doesn't even faze me anymore.
Yeah.
Versus I think in HBO Max, like the 20 whatever bucks a month that would come out, or I guess it's 15, but I can see them raising that price. I think that I could be very comfortable with being like, I think that's just a utility that I'll have. And then if I want to watch something in particular, if people are talking about like a Netflix show, I'll pay for Netflix for like a month.
For 1 month, yeah.
Yeah, and then I'll watch
I feel
that show, and then I'll probably end it. But it's
Yeah.
not, the content is just not consistently good enough for me that like I want it all the time. Versus like, if I'm sitting down and I'm like, I want to watch something, I don't go to Netflix. I go to HBO Max. I'm like, they'll probably have something that's pretty good there, or it's a show that people are talking about. But Netflix rarely has that.
You know, another thing that I'm starting to notice more is like some of the shows, I understand why they made it. you know what I mean? Like they're
Explain.
looking at like Love is Blind or all these other shows are like, oh, we think the data. Like I can kind of tell that their data is showing that they should have made these shows, and for some reason, like I can sense that.
Yeah.
So when I watch it, I kind of like it was manufactured.
Yeah.
The same feeling that I have with like Red Notice. It was like manufactured
man,
because
yeah.
they're like, okay, we need to fit this hole right now. We're gonna put something in it. Versus someone had a story and they just created it from like and then people watching it. They're like going for specific things, and I can kind of sense that now, and I don't like that.
You can see they're greenlighting stuff based on like data on their platform versus just like
but
creatively.
But the consumers are
idea.
starting to sense that that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like whereas like in an original movie that really kills it, you're not expecting it, right? And that feeling is just not the same anymore.
Right. There's no algorithm to National Treasure. One of the best films of our generation.
Yeah, nice.
But it's true. It's true. I mean, I've been saying this constantly. Is like the best. Like what like really pissed me off. Like ever since I really started studying this industry was we've created an environment where we're so reliant on data. We're like original good ideas that we're making remakes for now can't get made. Like based on like what the system is now. Like Star Wars would never have gotten greenlit. Star Wars would have never gotten happened. And it's the most lucrative franchise ever. And yet like the Hollywood has created like it's changed the system where like how Star Wars can't literally if George Lucas came in with this idea, people would be like, fuck no.
Yeah.
Or like let's make it a Netflix TV series. And it wouldn't have been nearly as good.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been the same thing.
Yep. Strange times.
So it's I mean, I think we're actually maybe getting to now the competition is going in. I think, and we're like, Disney's running out of every freaking remake they can make. I think now I think Hollywood's starting to like reassess themselves. Like, all right, we need like
it took a turn
now.
in Wall Street for them to realize that shit has to change.
They're really way too reliant.
Yeah. Speaking of things that have to change, the fucking Oscars. Yeah.
Before we get into this, it's funny because I don't know if we talked about this on the last episode, but do you hear Seth Rogen's comments on this?
About the
Oscars, about like how it's not popular with like the public.
Oh yeah.
Where he said like, oh well, people don't watch like car convention, TV shows, which really bothered me. And everybody's like, oh, this is great metaphor. Well, no, you sent me
the
that
analogy, right?
Yes, and I was like, the difference is that like people need cars, like they need cars to live their life. People have a lot of alternatives to watching movies and television.
Right.
So like, yeah, they're not watching the car convention, but it doesn't matter because they're still going to buy the product regardless.
Right.
The problem is if people aren't paying attention to the Oscars, that's directly correlated with how much they're consuming movies and television and how much they care about it.
Yeah.
So if they're not watching it, that means they don't give a shit about what you're doing.
Yeah. What is that called? A false equivalency?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Seth Rogen, like, he has a point. I get it. He's like, why would people want to watch this? It's like, dude, like, it's the same reason, like, there's a correlation between how many people want to watch the ESPYs and how much they watch sports and how much they spend money on sports.
Right.
So if the Oscars goes down the drain, that means people they don't care enough about you guys, which means the industry is people are just going to be consuming movies and television less.
Yeah.
And they're going to be doing other stuff for entertainment.
Yeah. You have to, I mean, someone has to do something, and it has to be on the show to make it more entertaining.
Yes.
Right? Like, you can't just
needs to be a show.
You can't expect the audience to all of a sudden care, right? You have to do something.
Yes.
And I guess, like, with the announced hosts, I mean, you talked about them already, right?
Yeah.
Amy Schumer.
So, Amy Schuner, Regina Hall, and Wanda Sykes, which first of all, you know that political correctness came in because it's all women, and like obviously, and that's fine. Like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler were great, but the problem is
that was good.
That was good, but the thing is, like, people wanted Amy Poehler and Tina Fey not because they were women, because they were hilarious.
Also, those
like,
two together make a whole lot of sense.
They're fantastic.
I don't see the relationship.
First of all, I don't know if these three women have ever worked together, so there's that. So I don't know what their chemistry is like together. But then also, Amy Schumer hasn't done anything in like 3 or 4 years. Right. And honestly, a lot of people don't like her because she got canceled because she stole jokes.
Yeah, she stole them.
Wanda Sykes hasn't really done much as far as I'm aware. And Regina Hall, I didn't even know who she was until this. And we study the industry.
Yeah.
So like the average person sees the host and they're like, I mean, I was already not going to watch the Oscars, but now I'm definitely not going to watch the Oscars. Like,
I wonder,
where's Tom? Get Tom Holland. Get anybody that's popular. Get anybody
I wonder
that's
how
actually
many
popular with
people,
the general public.
Yeah, I wonder how many people are going to be like, oh, Regina Hall is hosting the Oscars. Fuck, yeah, I gotta watch that.
Nobody's at the dinner table be like, "Did you hear? Did you hear who's hosting
Have
the
you
Oscars?"
heard, sir?
Amy Schumer. Remember her from like 4 years ago when she talked about her pussy a lot? Like,
oh man, pussy jokes are still in the zeitgeist now, or what?
There's a great. I think South Park ripped her up for that. Talking about how women are funny when they talk about their pussies a lot.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
I mean, the thing that caused a lot of backlash is they basically were like, okay, one of the things that consistently sucks about the Oscars is it's way too long and people tune out before like they even watch most of it. And let's be honest, like I watch it for like 6 categories total, right? So they cut out like 8 of them, which was like animated shorts, like production design, like the ones that most people don't really like understand or comprehend like what goes into it.
Yep.
Right. And so what they're doing is they're cutting those from the live broadcast. They're giving those rewards earlier, and then they just basically record it and then show it so that it's like a time constraint. It's more efficient that way.
Right.
So a lot of people were giving them shit because they're like, oh, well, you're not celebrating the artist, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
I mean, I guess 2 things. Like, one, most of those are like below the line type functions.
Right.
So they're not going to get the same kind of, hype as like the above the line folks.
Yep.
And the other thing is like, people don't care about these ones. They don't understand.
The average person definitely doesn't.
The average person doesn't understand.
Yeah. People watching on broadcast definitely don't.
Yeah. And they've been trying to make, every year they say Oscars needs to change.
Yep.
And then they make a change that seems reasonable and people go crazy. So, I mean, that's what's happening, but I think it's a good thing. I do think it's kind of like they're not going all in with making it super entertaining. They're kind of like doing a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Which doesn't really make sense.
I mean, frankly, I think it plays into this. I think it's a general theme that's going on with Hollywood now. And a lot of like, I think there's a big divide between the average person and like elite institutions like Hollywood and politics and stuff like that. There's like an increasing divide where like the people in Hollywood are just so detached from the reality that normal people live now that like they just, it's either they don't care or they just don't relate with normal people, and so normal people don't want to watch. They just don't. So like an example is like the movies that are posted like, oh, it's really artsy, yay, but like they're the only people in Hollywood are the only people who care about it. Like, look at the cinematography, and everybody else is like, but SpiderMan was great. There was a great I think it was Jimmy Kimmel that he kind of went on like a little bit of a rant where he was just like,
I don't understand.
He's like, Spider-Man was a great movie. He's like, why did it not get nominated for? It's a phenomenal movie that like people were very entertained by. Isn't that the whole point of movies?
Yeah.
He's like, are fun movies not allowed in the Oscars anymore? And he's got a point. Like, Spider-Man was, in all intents and purposes, a good movie. It's just not breaking the boundaries of cinema.
Yeah, it checked all the boxes, right?
Right.
I don't understand why it didn't even get a nomination.
And I think it's because and again, it goes back to this disconnect with Hollywood and normal people.
Snoot factor.
It's all, the people, the Academy voters. They're just all these snooty people that are like, well, it's because it's too popular because stupid people like it. So I need to do the more sophisticated films that nobody watches. Yeah, and so it messes with the whole thing. And they don't. What pisses me off is that I think Hollywood did not used to be this snooty, first of all. But then also, I think people think that artsy films are like what is the epitome of like what filmmaking is supposed to be, or like intelligent filmmaking.
Yeah.
And I think to a certain extent I get it, because like you can watch a Marvel movie and be like, this is probably not like groundbreaking. You know, popular movies back in the day were really good films, like the Godfather and even the Dark Knight series. Like they were like, it was kind of an art, the way they were telling these stories, versus Marvel kind of seems prepackaged. So I do get that to a certain extent, but there is an art to being entertaining. Like there is an art to creating a product that a lot of the population likes. Right? Like that's why I think it was the genius of Steven Spielberg. He not anymore because nobody saw West Side Story, but he used to be able to create really good, well done, like artistic films that were also commercially popular. And I think there's a genius to that the Academy doesn't give a crap about anymore.
There's only a few directors that can do that, right?
No, there's really
Steven
not.
Spielberg, James Cameron.
That's
about it.
I mean, the one that when I thought Hollywood was kind of like going back to it and like it was getting interesting was with Damien, whatever his name was, the director of La La Land.
Oh, yeah.
See, that's an interesting one because he was creating movies that were like actually starting to get like kind of pretty popular,
right?
And they were artsy. Like La La Land was pretty popular, and it was a very different, well done, like artistic movie.
I think it's tough to anticipate that kind of a thing, but like you said, like creating such a good movie that's so complete is in itself like wonderful execution, which should be recognized. I think it's an insult to not recognize a really good Marvel film as not being artistic.
Yes.
Right?
Agreed.
A good product is a good product, regardless of, you know, like the intent.
You could say, like, I'm sure you could, like, there are people that will watch Power of the Dog, and I still I should see that movie.
Oh, yeah, it's been on my list for so long.
I know. But
it's
the thing is,
it's on Netflix.
It was funny. One of my friends was talking, and she, like, really likes artsy movies. You know who it is. I'm not going to say her name. But she really likes artsy movies, and we were talking about this, like, we should watch Power of the Dog. And she was like, I tell myself I should want to watch Power of the Dog, but I don't want to watch it. Like, I just mentally, I'm like, it's like a movie I should watch, not one that, like, I'm passionately, like, I want to watch it. It's just, like, kind of like...
It doesn't sound appealing.
It doesn't sound like an entertaining movie.
But you know if you watched it, you'd probably really like it. That's...
Probably.
There's a couple of movies like that.
Yeah.
Like, The Green Book was like that for me. Like, I knew I should watch it, but it didn't sound appealing to me, but after I watched it, I was like, okay, I should.
I'm glad I watched it.
I'm glad I watched it.
I don't know. It's hard, but when it's almost too artsy, it's like...
Yeah.
It's almost like I gotta really like sit down, like really, like.
Do I want to get cerebral tonight?
Right. And it's like sometimes you just want to have fun.
Yeah.
And it's like almost fun movies can't be in the Oscars anymore, and that's part of the reason.
Yeah.
It's because people just, you know, normal people don't watch Power of the Dog, or they don't watch all these artsy movies, and they don't care. And Hollywood's attitude used to be, that we care that people don't care. Like we want people to like be involved. And now Hollywood has totally shifted its attitude where they're like, if they don't want to watch these sophisticated movies, they're dumb. Yeah. They're stupid. It wasn't for them anyway. It's like the Netflix. Like
I think
it wasn't for them.
I think it's also because it's like on Netflix, so it's on a streamer. So I bet if it was in theaters, I probably would have already watched it.
Well, that's the thing. It's like
Benedict Cumberbatch in a like a theatrical poster in a theater, that's enough of a draw.
You think people would go and see it though? I don't know.
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
I hope so, but I
mean,
don't know.
Speaking of which, like the theaters will be killing it because of movies like SpiderMan.
Yes. The theater business is an interesting one. So yeah, it's kind of moving on to our next topic, where Cinemark actually posted a profit for the first time in a while.
Yeah,
which is
good for them.
To them.
Good for them.
It's so dependent on Spider-Man, and that's a little bit of the concern. For the problem with theater chains is their product. They don't like make their product. I mean, they do. Their product is like the environment.
The margins are so out of whack too.
Yeah, and the margins are really bad. So it's like the theater business by itself is really difficult. It's really difficult because you don't control the movies. You don't control the reason people are going to the theater.
You don't control your supply, and you also can't control your demand, so to speak. Right?
Yeah.
You don't know who's going to turn up. Right?
No, you have no idea.
Yeah, because that's all dependent on the studio to market the freaking movie too.
Yep.
So it's like they're kind of squeezed in between. But that's why I think AMC is like doing some interesting stuff with like crypto and metaverse stuff, because they're understanding that for Gen Z it needs to be like this experience, right? It can't just be watching something for 2 hours. Like there needs to be other stuff, and I think that's what they're experimenting with. So
what are they doing with the metaverse and like crypto?
I don't know specifically, but I do know like for Batman that's coming out, they're giving free NFTs for people who bought a ticket to watch. Right? I mean,
funny.
That's cool enough for me to be like, oh shit, yeah, I'll go grab a Batman NFT.
Yeah.
Like,
To be fair, if everyone's handing out a bunch of Picassos, like how valuable is that Picasso anymore?
But it's just kind of cool and innovative. Like, even if it doesn't have that much value, they're trying.
Yeah.
So I think I'm bullish because I just think Adam Aaron is a smart dude. He knows how to take advantage of opportunity.
He is. He is smart. I did like the subscription service that they did.
Yeah.
I think that's valuable. I think it does encourage people to go to the movies. And they've done things in terms of like improving the concessions and stuff.
Yep.
But the problem is with the movie theater business, it's the same thing as anything in the entertainment business.
Yeah.
Content. Content is king.
Yeah.
And so if the content isn't good, it doesn't really matter how good the movie theater is.
Yeah. I had a weird experience. I went to go watch, which one was it? Uncharted.
You saw
the
Uncharted?
I did.
I was thinking about seeing that.
And it's funny because like I went as someone who loves watching movies, so I had a good time. And then I went with a friend, and they're not really that into movies, but he like ended up falling asleep for like an hour of the entire movie.
Oh my God.
And then I was like, dude, why did you even come? And he was like, well, I thought it would be okay, but it was like, how do you sit through that without being high or drunk? And I'm like, what are you talking about? So it feels like most people can't sit through like a 2-hour movie anymore.
No.
It's just not a thing that, unless you're really into movies or really into like watching content, it's not something that people are used to anymore.
No, I mean, that's the existential crisis, I think, of movies and television, that like, well, let's go beyond anything. And I know I've talked about this a couple times on the show. Like, let's stop. I think Hollywood sometimes is like so in their bubble that they think movies and television are so important that they'll never go away or nothing will ever happen. But they realize the environment in terms of leisure time, in terms of how people spend their time, their free time, has changed dramatically. Like, people
it's being usurped completely.
It's being totally usurped.
Yeah.
People would rather spend more of their time on video games or on YouTube or on TikTok than they would on movies and television. And the trend's getting much worse. It's like it's going, and especially like Elden Ring just came out, and it's a blockbuster game, and people are going to spend like 90, 100 hours on that.
Yeah.
And Fortnite's, doing its thing, Roblox. And then once you have the metaverse, like that really blows up. Why would people want to spend 2 hours sitting on their couch watching a movie when they could be in the movie? They could be in the metaverse in the movie.
That's why you need Adam Aaron doing shit with AMC to revamp that stuff.
I personally, I don't think there's anything that they can do without the content, which means they either need to produce their own content, which I don't think that's possible, or somebody buys, like a studio buys them, because they got rid of the Paramount law that you couldn't have theater chains in the studios. Now, I think Amazon could really. I think Amazon. I think Apple. I think these tech platforms that have so much money, if they like actually owned and revolutionized the theatrical experience with only their movies, I think. And then you could include like think about this with like Amazon, for instance. Like Amazon Prime's what, like $130 now a year. If they said we're going to give you like with the Amazon Prime subscription, which they could probably raise $10 and nobody would probably cancel anyway. But they could say, we're going to buy these theater chains, and then our movies are going to be exclusive in our theater chains, and we're going to raise our price by like $5, but you get like one free movie a year. Dude, as an Amazon Prime, if Amazon comes out with a movie, it's like, well, I already get a free ticket anyway to an Amazon theater.
Yeah.
I might as well go. And then
that's an interesting proposition.
And then so you already got the free ticket, so you might as well go to the movie theater. So you're encouraging people to go to the movie theaters now, and they're going to the movie theaters for your movies.
Yeah.
And that's where people start paying attention, because most people will be on their phone.
That's a good idea for like.
But only like Amazon or Apple could do it.
Right. But also,
so
if a tech company did it, then they could revolutionize the experience, right? They could do what like
exactly
like, because Barnes and Noble was dying as brick and mortar, but then they rebranded as like this experiential place where people go to hang out and all that. If a tech company can do that with theater chain and create like a whole metaversal experience with their films and their content, then that could be huge.
100%. They could make it into like, I mean, they could revolutionize it, in a lot of different ways from a convenience standpoint, right? Like, you could just flash an Amazon thing and you're in. You don't even need to like pay for a ticket or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sure they could do stuff. I mean, the food, I'm sure could be a lot better if it was like a partnership with Whole Foods. Oh my God. Like, I'm sure that'd be way better. But then they could
organic
also
popcorn.
Yeah, right.
Straight to your seat.
But they could also like revolutionize, to your point. Like, they could have like they could have like laser tag and like they could make it like a whole gaming area with like arcades and
Or
stuff.
like a
and
Tron
it could be,
game.
Yeah,
oh,
dude.
That would be sick.
It would be sweet. Amazon totally has the money to do that, and they would dominate. And the most important thing is that it would encourage people to go out to see your movies, which is so important if you're trying to build like an IP. If you're trying to make like a new idea, a new story, the best thing you want people to do is to go to a theater to watch it because they're not going to be on their phones. They're going to be watching with other people. They're going to be paying attention, and that's the way to create the environment that they actually fall in love with the story that you're telling. But if they're at home, they're cooking while they're watching it, or they're playing on Twitter while they're watching it, or worse, they're playing a video game and it's like on in the corner on their iPad.
Yeah,
They're never, no matter how good the story is, it's not going to resonate. Like they're not going to fall in love with it. You need people to be actively engaged in it. So you want people to go to theaters.
Yeah,
and I think
there's only
now
a
that
few
might be the only way.
companies. Yeah, there's only a few companies that can do that.
Yeah, like like studios. I think studios might eventually start sponsoring like with their streaming platforms. Maybe I think it would be an interesting partnership idea if like Disney's made a partnership with AMC where like with a Disney Plus subscription, if you paid like an extra $2 a month.
Yeah,
it comes with a free movie ticket to
I think
to
the way
AMC
that
for a
Disney
Disney
is
movie.
structured, they probably will never get that approved.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how it would. I don't know. Obviously,
we could
a financial
speculate.
model on that.
Yeah.
But anything to encourage people to go to the theaters to watch your content is something that I think these companies should really prioritize.
Yeah.
But
so let's switch gears to the rebranding. I thought this was a good move for ViacomCBS to rebrand to Paramount.
Yes.
Unifying
So
their
background
brand.
really quick, right? So ViacomCBS is changing their entire it was Paramount Plus, and now they're changing their entire name. Like the whole company's changing to Paramount.
Yeah, which is weird because it kind of like grew up from one piece of the entire business. So it was like ViacomCBS, and then Paramount Pictures, just here, and then Paramount Plus. And now it's just kind of like enveloped the whole thing.
Yep. And Showtime was there, and so now the whole company is.
But
Paramount.
it's also going to be Paramount. It's all going to be under the same thing, and like they've reported streaming numbers all combined and everything. So this is just their huge unification.
Yep. And it makes sense. Like
it was the most recognizable brand, both
right
domestically and internationally. So
and the entertainment business, like all your brand matters so much. So I totally get it. Like you don't want your company to be a company name that most people don't recognize.
Yeah. Or CBS is. It's
CBS. Most people do know, but it's a dying
think about the
name.
brand. Think about the brand. You associate that with like 60 Minutes or like your dad's show at on prime time, right?
Yep.
So it's good
Paramount
that they're
could be
using
the
Paramount.
future.
Yeah.
Like Paramount, cable, CBS kind of is like it like almost represents the past.
Right.
So you need to move past that, and like Paramount's a good like jumping off point to be. You could it's not just a studio; it's more type of thing.
Yeah, I think
there's
they're only
opportunity
able
there.
to do that since Sumner Redstone passed away because he
probably wouldn't have been like
he would not have been like that's his baby, right? He wouldn't have done that.
No, but it's true. I mean, Viacom, nobody knows.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody outside the industry knows what Viacom is, so it's good.
What was
definitely good
Viacom
for them.
traditionally? Wasn't that a telecommunications company?
Yeah. So, Viacom was a network of channels.
Oh, okay.
So, like, it was like you were under the Viacom like umbrella of a lot of different like TNT, TBS.
Oh,
like,
interesting.
all
Okay.
that was Turner.
Even I didn't know that.
Right. That was under the Turner brand. So, like, it was confusing. Viacom was basically like the umbrella that housed like all of these network of channels. Basically, that's what Summer Redstone really did. Like, he owned like half of your cable package. Like, it was all like half the channels that you saw were owned by Viacom. And it didn't matter. Like back then, it didn't matter that nobody knew what Viacom was because people, as long as they knew your channels, didn't matter.
Yeah,
Nobody needed to know
just kind of
that CNN and like TNT were a part of the same company. It didn't matter. It didn't make a difference. But now that not most people are not watching these channels anymore. Now you kind of do. Now you kind of need a streaming platform and a company that's recognizable to the consumer.
They got rid of CBS All Access, which was
Ironically enough, ViacomCBS was actually one of the first people to get into the streaming wars.
Yeah, which is really weird. But
they just didn't go all in.
Yeah, they stalled their growth.
Which was always a hard question, right? Because they don't want to go all in because then the licensing business to cable.
But that's the
is
thing.
still
If
so
you don't go all
lucrative.
in, you're gonna get disrupted.
I know. Well, we'll see what happens with the NFL because I think once the NFL goes to streaming, it's over.
Yeah.
I honestly think the cable package is freaking
Yeah.
done. If the NFL announces, like, yeah, we're pretty much going to do all, like, Amazon's going to own all the rights or something like that, or they'll split the rights, right? Like maybe Netflix, if Netflix ever gets into live sports, like Netflix will be the home for Monday Night Football, and then Amazon already is going to be the home for Thursday Night Football next year.
I kind of hate that, like that they're splitting it up that way. They're kind of
They always
forcing a
do.
bad consumer experience, but
Well, the NFL
whatever.
is always. I mean, I think I think they'll do that, but the thing is that it's not going to really matter because most NFL fans are
Or-
going to get the NFL Sunday a Sunday ticket.
yeah.
And whoever owns whatever streaming platform owns that, it's gonna make so much freaking money. And I
Yeah.
think Disney is like trying really hard to get it.
Oh yeah,
but
sure.
the NFL should jack that price up, man, because
Yeah.
it's so
they're
valuable.
doing well. They know.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think once the cable's done. So
Damn. So since the last time we
see.
chatted, I've watched a bunch of movies.
yeah, you have. I'm a
Yeah,
little
I
jealous.
watched
gotta
all of
watch
these.
more.
So have you seen Death on the Nile?
That's the one with Gal Gadot, right?
Yeah, Gal Gadot, Kenneth
Haven't
Branagh.
seen that.
It's good. It's a sequel to like a previous version of that, which was Death on the Train or something.
Oh.
On the Orient Express.
Oh,
It's like a
yes.
murder crime solve thing.
Yes. Yep.
And I
yep.
kind of like those, like that. Knives Out. Those, they're kind of fun. you know?
Yeah.
It was good. I recommend it. The Cursed is like this. Okay, when you hear what it's about, like I watched it and I had no idea what the overarching theme was, and then I found out it was like a werewolf movie. Yeah, that's how strange. That's how of a unique take it was on a werewolf movie, and the
Yeah.
fact that this movie exists in 2022, like that they greenlighted like almost an indie horror werewolf movie,
That's
is
interesting.
shocking. Is shocking to me. But it was pretty good.
Huh.
It was-
What
it was good.
studio?
I don't A24 maybe.
Oh, A24 comes out with some interesting stuff.
Is it A24? Let me double check. Oh no. LD Entertainment. I don't even know what that is.
But like that couldn't have been the only studio. Like, do you watch it in theaters?
Yeah. It was. I mean, it was good. I mean, I had a really good time watching it. I watched Jackass, which was awesome. It was a throwback to like early 2000s. But I guess, I was telling you it was kind of sad because one, they're like 50 years old and they're kind of still doing this. And like the humor has somewhat been the same, but somewhat changed, but it's more or less the same.
Yeah.
And like the other thing is like there's a couple of people in the Jackass team that it's clear they're just kind of there to be like the butt of the joke. And it's a little bit sad to watch, even though they're kind of like achieving their dreams.
Yeah.
But there's a bit of that which we thought was all funny before, but now that we're kind of like adults looking at it, it's kind of like you're kind of like, ooh, it kind of hurts me to see this person being like a joke, the monkey of the joke. You know what
yeah.
I mean?
I guess I don't know. So I read the reviews and I still really want to see it. I can't believe I haven't seen it.
No, it's
I
still
just
good.
haven't had time.
It's a really good time.
So the funny part was I think one of the parts that got good reviews because none of the Jackass movies before got good reviews. Like they were all kind of pans, but people enjoy them, right?
Yeah.
But one of the reasons why it got so many good reviews was because people were like, they just don't like. It's the exact same, which in this time when like everybody's so sensitive,
It's almost refreshing.
It's almost refreshing to
Yeah.
like see them just be the exact same as they've
Yeah.
always been. It's crude, crude, disgusting humor that like no
Yeah.
filters, but it's like almost nice.
I
But
was-
comedy is so filtered nowadays because
Yeah.
you don't want to like say something that will piss people off, like Dave Chappelle, right? Like you don't want to do anything. So it's like self censorship on comedy, but they've just always been the same.
The one thing that I like was surprised about, I was like, wait a second, was there always this many like dick pranks? like there was
yeah.
so much like
It's so gross.
I mean, it's gross, but like I didn't remember seeing that much penis before, but I guess I just wasn't
I don't
paying
remember.
attention.
I haven't seen the Jackass thing in so
But
long.
I think there was at least double-digit penises that you see in this
Really?
version of the movie. Yeah.
Interesting.
I was like, was it this many before?
It's rated R, and you
yeah,
can show dicks.
It's for sure rated R. Yeah, 100%.
I didn't even know you could show dicks, even if it's still rated R. You could still show dicks.
If anyone could, it would be the Jackass guys.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
There's always like really funny ones, and there's some that are like almost too cringy, and you're
yeah.
like, oh,
yeah,
come
yeah.
on.
There's a lot of that. That's the whole point.
But it's kind of yeah. I gotta see it.
Yeah. Did you watch
seems
Uncharted
fun.
yet?
No, I haven't seen Uncharted yet. I've been kind of scared about it because
It's a fun movie.
It's good.
But it's kind of just like Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg. You can kind of immediately know what the movie's going to be like just by knowing that they're in it.
It just doesn't sound unique to me. Yeah, it sounds
based
like
on
a
the game.
manufactured.
Yeah, but like I just feel like you can't take the Spider-Man out of Tom Holland right now.
I think so. One of the reasons I really wanted to see it was because I wanted to see if Tom Holland can pull off being a man. To be totally honest with you,
not yet.
Like he is so good as like a teenage kid that I just can't imagine him as like an adult like Harrison Ford.
Yeah,
like, I can't.
He hasn't.
I don't see him as like the man.
There's he has not tapped into that yet. Not yet.
I don't know if he's going to. I don't know if he's that type of dude.
Yeah. I mean, when he was, he's in a suit for part of it, and you kind of like.
He still looks
he's
like
he's a kid in a suit. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how old is he right now? Is he like?
I think he's our
early
age,
20s?
like 27, 26.
Wow, he's so young. I mean, he looks so young. He's 25
Oh, he's
years
25.
old.
Yeah, but he looks like he's like 18, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like I had no issues with him in being in high school. Like nobody does. He's like 25. It's like he looks like he's in high school.
I mean, remember Andrew Garfield was like 36 when he played Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's wild.
Kind of nuts.
Although in the Spider-Man movies, he didn't look fully like he should have been in high school.
Yeah,
like he still
he's kind of
like an adult.
Hello, fellow students.
Yeah, he kind of looked like that. And I think Tobey Maguire like kind of pull it off, but he still kind of looked like an adult.
Yeah.
Tom Holland, I feel like is going to look like a kid for like his entire life.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's ever going to look like
kind
an
of like,
actual adult.
Yeah, that was my thing with Uncharted. Like you just can't take that out of him.
Well, I heard a lot of. I never played the video game. Did you play the video game?
No, I might have like a long time ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I never played the video game, but a lot of people's complaints, like a lot of people were saying, like they were already sussed about this movie because basically
It's not
Uncharted,
well cast.
It was not well cast. Like
Yeah.
like Uncharted in the video game, like he was like the Harrison Ford guy. Like he was
Right.
the badass like man.
Yeah.
like, he was
I
Indiana
get that.
Jones. He was
I
like
get
Indiana
that, but this
Jones.
is like an origin story of when he's a kid. So like,
well, that's
you can explain it away with the story.
That's
but
that's like part of my problem is like I can imagine myself in the writer's room in the boardroom being like, we want Tom Holland to be in this. How do we make this convincing? Okay,
Yeah.
let's make it a prequel so he's a kid.
yeah.
And it's just
Yeah.
like
They worked backwards,
right? They're
from
kind of
getting Tom Holland on. Yeah,
exactly, and that's like not. I don't think that's a good way to like really spawn creativity. Is
Yeah.
doing like a whole. We want this actor. Let's like shape it. I don't know. I guess there are some movies that have done that, but.
Yeah, I mean, he still
I don't
acts
know.
the shit out of it, and he does a lot of really cool stunt stuff. But it's I mean, well, I think it's an interesting thing to think about. Like, when will we see him as like the Harrison Ford type, like
Right.
the Indiana Jones type? Like,
And the question, I think the question is it's when or if. Like that's my thing. And I think they're really trying to push him as a man because Hollywood needs him. Like
Yeah.
Hollywood needs him to be a star because
Yeah.
he brings in money and he's good for like the
he
average
should
person
just
for
get
movies.
jacked. He just get like fucking ripped.
Maybe
like,
if he gets
huge.
jacked, like I don't know, but he's still. I mean, I guess Tom Cruise never really had an issue of like being macho, even though he was short. So I guess the short's not the
Yeah.
issue. It's just like I just don't know. He's like such a child looking.
Even Tom
dude.
Cruise when he was
His
like
even
young.
voice is really high.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
everything about him screams like child.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't
But
know.
anyways,
I hope
all
he
of
does,
these, all
but-
4 of these movies that I just mentioned, definitely
You'd
worth
recommend it?
a watch. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I think going to watch Jackass on the big screen is also kind of nice. It's like giving them a vote of like, yeah, you got it, you know?
yes, I want to.
I will give you my dime.
I personally wanted to see Jackass in theaters because it seems like a very good movie to watch with people.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Like
so
it seems like a fun movie to watch.
it was only
with people.
50% full, but everyone was like hooting and like freaking
Yeah.
laughing out loud.
See, that like actually would enhance that actually makes the movie theater experience for me. Like if people are like
Yeah.
laughing along with me,
Yeah.
that seemed like the type of movie
should
that'd
be
like,
fun.
This would be really fun to be in
Yeah.
a theater for.
Yeah.
Same with like Marvel.
Even
like,
my
these event
wife,
movies.
who isn't into movies, said like, "Oh, that was entertaining."
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is the whole point of this goddamn business that
Yeah.
Hollywood needs to like
Yeah.
wake up.
Well,
Like this business used to be about entertaining the
Yeah.
common person, and now it's all about creating these like nuanced, like artsy films for the sake of
yeah.
I
We-
don't know to like push the boundaries on film.
Yeah. So the last thing we'll say is we just need more jackasses.
We
Yeah.
need more
We need more
jackasses.
jackasses.
We need more. We need more Spider-Mans. We need more jackasses. We need more
Yeah.
stuff that like the average person will
Cares
like.
about. Yeah.
The average they care about. You can make artsy films, and that's
Yeah.
good. But they also need to be entertaining. They
Yeah.
need to be commercially viable to the average person.
Yeah, 100%.
Well
said.
And so
All right.
we'll see. My only I haven't watched too much. The only thing that I've been watching Yellowstone still, and it's getting better. Like, but it's not the best TV. So I wouldn't like. I don't know. I don't know if I'd recommend. I'd recommend it. Maybe just check out, but I wouldn't say it's like should be on the top of your list. I recently watched Love Is Blind with some friends. Very fun if you're not trying to like take anything seriously.
Yeah.
It's
My wife's all about it right now.
Oh yeah, I mean honestly, reality TV is fun when you're like watching it with
Friends.
like that's when you're watching with friends and it gives you like something to, like rip on other people like the people in the show about. It can be a good time, and I can see why like a lot of the streaming platforms have have actually like invested a lot into reality TV because it is fun, like it is entertaining.
Well, the weird thing is someone who came in who did reality TV show says like the reason why people love it is because they want to aspire to be what they see on TV a lot of the time. And I just can't imagine me feeling that way about that show.
No, I think reality TV is more about making fun of the people for being stupid.
That wasn't originally what it was gonna be. Like
Oh, really?
originally reality, if you think about the early reality TV, they had flaws, but they kind of like they
You
kind of
still wanted to
grew
be them.
through it, and you kind of wanted to be them, and they kind of grew and changed and got stronger from it. So like originally there was like this aspirational feel to it, but now it's not.
Now it's like kinda trashy.
Oh, wow, like look at how shitty their life is.
Which is entertaining. Like it's
Yeah.
very entertaining watching like these really dumb people or
Yeah.
like these really crazy people do stuff in
Yeah.
like these situations. And it's real. Like I think something that Hollywood has been unfortunately like kind of falling into this trap of like they're just like so disconnected from the reality. Where like it's like simple things like
You need reality TV to bring us back to reality.
yes.
Yeah.
Like it's like it's just interesting. Like you're seeing like real life play out.
All right.
So-
Okay. You have convinced me to give it a shot.
No, I wouldn't. unless you're with friends.
All right.
I wouldn't
fair
watch
enough.
it by yourself.
Okay.
If it's with your wife, it could be fun. Like it could be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Well, cool.
All right, guys.
Let's end it there.
All right. We will see you next week.
Thanks for
hopefully.
tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in.
Peace.